All right, so that's how the two teams have gotten ready for this weekend's game. Chelsea scored 4 at Spurs. Man City scored 6 at home against Bournemouth. Let's have a look at their head-to-head and the season stats, and then we'll get into the conversation. So there you have it. This is what they look like in terms of head-to-head. They've played 52 games, in the history of the Premier League. Chelsea have 27 wins. That shouldn't surprise anybody. Mm-hmm. Man City 18, they've drawn 7, and of course the numbers work the other way around. So for somebody will look at it and say, but why do Man City have only 18 wins? Well, to be honest, Man City only got this good from about 2011. Yeah. So Chelsea had been far better than Man City. So that explains, that one. One of the earliest, I can say, new generation Man City wins, if you remember, in the aftermath of the Windbridge episode. Oh, yeah. I think they won, was it 4-2, the no handshake? Yeah. That's crazy stuff there. Let's have a look at their season numbers, if we have that. There they look. 11 games played. Man City have won 9, no draws, 2 losses, goal difference of plus 20 already. Chelsea 4 wins, 3 draws, and 4 losses, a goal difference of plus 5. Emmanuel, with an E. Your initial thoughts on this is very interesting ways that they have prepared for this game. City played over the weekend, then they beat Young Boys in the Premier League, and then they are going to London. Chelsea, like we said, they had the strangest 4-1 win in the history of football. Your initial thoughts on this encounter?
I think, I don't really expect Chelsea to sort of like get something.
But they've played well in the big games, to be fair. 2-2 against Arsenal when they dominated. Even 1-1 against Liverpool when I thought they could have won. Yeah. And then they beat Spurs.
Yeah. Personally, right, I don't really count the Spurs win, right? Okay. Because their performance wasn't even great, to start with, right? It was only sort of unfortunate on the part of Spurs that they had to lose 2 men and all that. But that's just by the way. I feel Chelsea, I wouldn't say they are getting a false sense of hope or false hope or whatever it is. But I feel coming up against a City side, as we know now, I mean, they had a very slow start once again. They are gradually growing into it, and we can also make the case that City are still sort of in a little bit of a transition because they lost they've sort of lost part of a core of their team at a point. Like last season, those
Gundogan is gone.
That's right. So you have some
Laporte
of these.
Is gone.
Laporte, yeah. And you have even John Stones now being relegated to the bench. You have Vardiol and Co coming in and trying to Pep trying to fit them into the piece, the puzzle and all that. So they're also going through a transitional period and that. But I think if you have a good coach, it also reflects across board. And you don't really see it much, especially last season you could see that they also relied much on Grealish on the wings and all that. Now Doku has come in, has given him a different dynamic and different outlook when it comes to their wing play and all that. So coming up against this Chelsea side, I feel City would once again be able to impose themselves. Chelsea are not there yet, They've shown signs right from the start of the season to date. Some of their performances have not really been it. They've been quite poor in certain games. Some of the games you would feel that they are supposed to get the score in their favor, but they will end up blanking and then not getting even a single goal. Against Spurs, they were fortunate to score a lot of goals and then they were able to their performance wasn't good, but then they ended up being, that was, like you said earlier, was one of the most unconvincing hat tricks by any player you would ever see. And it was a very weird game, across board. But I feel City should be able to do more to get the win in this game. Chelsea, they are not there yet. They are still coming up. But I feel City will do more to get the win in this particular game.
Emmanuel with an eye. I just love seeing that. For Man City, I think they've played, this will be their 3rd big game, if I'm right. They lost at Arsenal. Yes. They beat Man United, and now they are going to Chelsea. 3 different types of opposition. So Arsenal, you could call them their challengers. Yeah. Man United didn't put up any kind of challenge. Now they face a Chelsea team that's trying to rebuild. They are young. Then they take on a familiar face in Cole Palmer. Yeah. They are ex-player. If you were Pep, how would you view this game? How would you prepare for this encounter at Stamford Bridge?
I think if I was Pep, I would prepare for this game with all seriousness. because the funny thing with Chelsea is in the big games, they've actually played well. Yes, I mean, let's scrap the whole Tottenham one, but leading
I don't know
to
why he wants to scrap it.
it was a weird game. One of the most unconventional tactical displays. A coach goes down 2 men and he puts all his players on the center line. Like you'd never see that anywhere.
Mr. Postecoglou ball. Yeah.
But if you put that aside, if you look at the big games, for instance, the Arsenal game, we all thought, okay, Arsenal was going to play them off the pitch. They started pretty well, and they could have won if they had been a bit more solid defensively. In the Liverpool game, too, you'd think, okay, Liverpool had the edge in there, but in the second half, Liverpool didn't really have any bite. So in the big games, especially at home, you'd expect them to show up. It's the mid-table and lower-tier teams which tend to have shaken them a bit. The Aston Villa loss at home, the Brentford loss at home. So for Chelsea, I think they would arrive serious. They would arrive to prove a point. But for Manchester City, if they do approach this game like, oh, Chelsea is not in form and we just play them off the pitch, they could get surprised. Chelsea, I still think that midfield balance is what will be the doing or undoing of this game. Okay. The Caicedo, Gallagher, and then Enzo midfield balance. If that balance is able to stifle City a bit, if they're able to restrict Doku to, let's say, just stay on the touchline a bit, they may be able to get something from this game. Now, in the era of VAR, where we are talking more about refereeing than the football, you could get a freak penalty or something and you could build on that. But then I think Chelsea, we know how they are going to play. We know how City is going to play. Doku is going to be taxed to take whoever is on that side, whether he plays on the right against Reece or he plays on the other side against Cucurella. I mean, Cucurella was actually good in the Arsenal game.
Yeah, he was.
Very impressive until the yellow card. Saka had no joy down that side. Then the yellow card comes in, Saka gets a bit of joy. The cross goes in and he scores. So if you can do another job like that against Jeremy Doku and restrict City, then now City will have to find other ideas. Bernardo Silva will have to be more ingenious. He'll have to be more creative to unlock things. And Dawson
they will have to find a way of getting Haaland to be a bit more engaged.
Yeah, Dawson has also proven that you can keep Haaland shut. So there are some things they can pick from this team and look at it and say that, okay, we go in there, we put our best foot forward and we could get something. But if City are professional and they're on their A game, I mean, they could beat Chelsea. The last 6 meetings they've had, they've beaten Chelsea. Chelsea hasn't scored a goal against them. True. So that record doesn't...
And they won at Stamford Bridge last season, 2 seasons ago and all of that. Just finally, Chelsea can rely on at least a little inside info from Cole Palmer and Raheem Sterling. If you were Pochettino, would you go after Man City or you'd back off and try to hit them on the break?
I think for City, whichever way you go, they would always find a way to score. Like Emmanuel said, if they are being restricted in the middle where they have Bernardo operating and all that, they can rely on Doku on the wings to try and cut inside or just make something out of the blue. For Chelsea, I think the approach should be like Pochettino they should be a bit okay with sticking with what they know. You know, for City you don't really overthink it like people claim Pep does, right? But just go with your best system and then your best men, right? Just try to make the best out of the little chances that you might get, you know, because for City it wouldn't be a plenty for you. One will fall on your lap, maybe like you said, a freak decision will go in your favor, you get a penalty here and there and all that. Maybe it will be a corner or hit somebody's arm, a penalty and those kind of stuff. But in terms of chance creation and then trying to capitalize on their weaknesses, they are very just a little that you can count on. So just go with what you understand. Just go with your A game. Try to impose yourself in it, because what City doesn't really like is trying to dictate the tempo of games. They have the men to do that. So at the moment you try to do that, it sort of destabilizes a bit for them. We saw it at the beginning of the season, right? I think Chelsea should just be themselves and they should just try to do what they've done in most of the games that we've seen so far.
All right, we'll see how it plays out on Sunday at Stamford Bridge. It's Chelsea versus Manchester City. And it's part of our roadshow on Sunday. We had Oliver Twist Shack in Latibia Okoshi. So the first game is between Liverpool and Brentford. And then the big one, Chelsea versus Manchester City, Sunday at 4:30 p.m. at Stamford Bridge. This is the Premier League preview show. We'll take a very, very quick break. When we come back, we'll get into the debate. Today, we'll be in North London to say a few things about a certain team in that part of England. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.